Hi everyone, I am Sandra, the EFT Fairy, and today I would like to say hello to everyone and also welcome to Lucy Blunden. Lucy, how are you?
Hi, Sandra. I'm good, thank you. Yeah, thank you
It's
for thank you for having me on.
it's so lovely that you're here. You are also an EFT practitioner, and I would love if you could tell us a bit more about yourself, maybe even how you learned about EFT.
Okay, so if I start with how I learned about EFT, it's one of those journeys where um when I was first somebody suggested it to me and I poo-pooed it. I thought it was one of those kind of um new age woo-woo things um that are that are not real, that are not proper. I had been having therapy and I thought that therapy was the way to do it and that it was real and that I would get to the proper stuff and it wasn't just kind of, I don't know, what do they call it? Spiritual bypassing or something, kind of masking over things. Um, so that was, goodness, that was around 20 years ago. Maybe 18, 19 years ago. So I was given the EFT manual, and again, I thought that was a bit kind of dodgy because I was given this huge PDF document, and it hadn't occurred to me that there was such a thing as open source, or that people wanted those kinds of resources to be shared. So again, I thought, oh, this is really dodgy. She's given me the whole workbook. This is like, something I should be paying for a course on, or, so I was so skeptical and not very open, let's face it. So that then just kind of went into my inbox, stayed in my inbox, and I didn't do anything with it. I believe I still have that manual that I was given, so I didn't throw it away. I wasn't kind of like, ugh, no, I'm not having anything to do with this. It was just, I don't want this. This isn't the right thing. It's not going to do anything properly. So I continued on my journey, um, and then probably 8 years ago. Um, I had been recommended to follow somebody, or maybe they just cropped up in a group that I was in, and I really liked the way they were speaking. And they mentioned somebody called Linda Anderson, who does tap into your success. That's the name of her business, and she was offering a free webinar, and I thought, oh, I'll just go along. What, no harm. I'm available. I might as well. And so I went along, and I was really quite taken by what she was doing, and it included this tapping thing. So I did a discovery call with her, and then I did something that I've never done before, and I decided to just work with her. Um, and she worked in a kind of, well, I was about to, undergo fertility treatment. And so she said, look, the programs that I am offering are not going to be right for you because you're not going to be able to give the time and energy and effort for that. So I'll do you a package of 3 sessions, and let's just work on something very specific. And in that, so I did that. And to be completely honest, although I have a memory, as in I know what it was that we worked on, I have no knowledge of what it was we worked on because we cleared it. I remember crying copiously and tapping, and then so I was afraid. I was I'd done some internet dating like years before, and I'd had some really horrible troll spam kind of nasty stuff that was really quite vicious and totally unnecessary from one of those email addresses that are that in those days you could create. There was a website where you could create an email address that was never traceable to anybody, so it enabled people to be really nasty, with no comeback and so I really experienced sort of haters, and a personal attack. So I was really scared to put myself out there because I'd received this horrible stuff from not even really fully putting myself out there because I didn't put pictures of me that were very clear. Anyway, but going out there as a self-employed herbalist who really, really wanted to be a herbalist, but couldn't bring myself to make myself visible. Um, and we just cleared it. And ever since then, I've had absolutely no qualms about putting myself out there. There are still some things that I've worked on since, like you'll know, Sandra, that it's you can work on a really big thick layer that is a block, and then when you get you get past that, every now and again, just the little threads that had woven themselves into other parts of you it turns out they're still there. So there's still some aspects that I've needed to work on, but that was the thing. And then again, I just kind of put it down. So we did that. I achieved what I wanted to achieve. I then became pregnant, and so um, you know, things like tapping and that kind of self-development just totally went on the back burner. And I came back to it, I think, because there was a specific area that I wanted to address, and I had seen somebody who was very, who's quite famous, who's putting it out there for that thing, but I couldn't make myself do the work. So I would turn up to this and I would turn up to that, but I'd never do any of the things in between. So, I'd buy a program and then it would just sit on my hard drive like so many of us do. So I kept thinking about it. Then I discovered Udemy, the kind of online study stuff. I found a training program on there, and I thought, well, look, if this is interesting and if this is for me, then I'll work my way through it, and I'll come back. It will come back to me in some way. So I did that, and it was very basic. It didn't cover anything like the depth and breadth that the 4-day training with Tamara and Peter did. But it really got me interested, and I did some case studies, even though that wasn't part of this particular course. And I really wanted to see what would happen if I started using it. And I felt like I was doing quite well with it. Felt like I knew what I was doing. And then I don't know, I just started having conversations with people locally. I said, "Oh, you've trained in EFT. Who did you train with?" "Oh, okay." And I looked at Tamara and Peter's website and I was like, "Oh, I'm not really sure. Don't know." Then I looked at Tamara's solo website and I thought, yeah, okay. I like the look of this. I think this appeals to me. And then I got in touch with her and with a view to doing some work, signed up for 10 sessions. And then we went into lockdown. So, that was massively helpful in lockdown. And then they had their first online training that autumn. And I just, I just looked at the dates. I could do them. Now, with a small child at that point, that didn't happen very often that I could do 4 training days out of, so yeah, again, it felt very serendipitous. And honestly, I've just not looked back since.
How fascinating. And I love that you described how you first weren't impressed with EFT. I had a very similar journey, so I had to tackle during, because really, first when you see and everyone says, "Oh, it helps so much," and it's hard to believe. I'm really interested because I know that you do herbal medicine. How do you incorporate herbal medicine with EFT? Can you describe it a bit more in detail?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I actually think of it as combining EFT with the herbal medicine. So although it's semantics really. What I do is I use the EFT and techniques from within EFT to supercharge people's health goals. Because I use there's a specific technique called Imagineering, where you imagine going inside your body to an area that is neutral, fine, and you look around and you see what it looks like, and then you come out. Then you go back in and you visit the place that's sick, or where you imagine the sickness that you have is in your body. So, just as an example of that, I was working with somebody for blood pressure. Now, blood pressure doesn't have an area as such, because it's your whole body, isn't it? Because your blood vessels are everywhere. But she felt that it was in her chest. So we would visit And so you imagine going inside of your body and going to that area, and you imagine shining a light around, and you examine all of that area of your body. And then when you've done that, you come back out and we tap on all the things that you've seen. And often what people see is dark, murky, damp, nasty, sort of, uncomfortable, maybe frightening. And it's always something along those lines, unless some people just view their physiology. They are much more literal about it. But then what we do is we tap on what they've seen, and we tap until that becomes clear. And when that then becomes clear, that emotional block around this part of their body that is stuck in their body, that is keeping their body stuck in the unwellness, can shift. And then that allows the herbs to do their job. So it's incredibly powerful as a dual modality.
That's really very interesting. So you don't only, when they say they come with a specific issue, you probably know which herbs would work best, but you also support it with this imaginary with EFT. Okay, that
Yeah.
sounds.
So I mean, the consultation, the first consultation with somebody is 90 minutes.
Oh,
And
okay.
we may not even do any tapping in that. That's just to explore every aspect of their body, because I'm a medical herbalist, so it's I'm looking at all parts of the body. I want to really understand the symptoms, how that affects their day-to-day life, what that, where that comes from. And then I go through every single body system to see what else is contributing to that. I also look at diet. I look at sort of day-to-day habits, and movement, self-care, all of the things that sleep. Oh my goodness, sleep. Because they're all such a massive part of everybody's of everybody's health. Because if you're not sleeping, nothing works well. If you're eating rubbish, nothing works well. So and then inevitably there are some resistance. Although people come to me wanting to make change, the hardest thing to do is change. So the EFT is where we can kind of look at resistances and say, okay, so you need to change what you're eating, but this food currently feels like your lifeline. But we've done a food journal for 4 weeks, and we can see that this food is actually a trigger. So we've got a choice here. You carry on with this food, but there's only so far I can help you if you want to carry on with this food. Or we look at the blocks and the resistances and why this food represents something that clearly it isn't really. So let's just say I have a really, really strong memory of being in a pub garden as a child. My dad was in the pub, me and my brother were in the garden, and I just really, really remember that we were given this one bag of crisps to share. And so we scrunched them up into tiny little pieces. And then we pretended that these salt and vinegar crisps were salt and vinegar peanuts, because those didn't exist back when I was a small child. And I just remember that really strong feeling of connection and excitement and joy in these crisps. Now, it wasn't the crisps, really. It was the environment. It was what me and my brother had created together using our imagination. But for me, the crisps are what brought me that feeling. So crisps have a very strong impact on me psychologically, and everybody has their version of this. And partly because we use food every time somebody's upset. Oh, there. Let's have a cup of tea, or let's sit. I know you're feeling bad. Let's go and have tea and cake together, or something like that. So when we shift the association between that food and a certain kind of emotion or feeling that.
Okay, I think we froze for a bit, so I'll just wait till we get back.
Reception on my computer is showing full.
Okay.
Anyway, okay.
Yeah. Okay, now we're
Okay.
good.
Okay.
Okay.
Where did I get to when it froze?
You were saying, yeah, that the food has a special meaning when you're eating crisps. Yeah.
Yeah. So was that for me myself?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what happens is we start to imbue a food with a certain feeling, and it's not really, I mean, crisps don't represent love and connection and fun and joy with your sibling. They're just crisps. Um, so it's looking at detaching those feelings from that food and then looking at where you can find those feelings in a way that is probably healthier. One of the key things about when you go and visit somebody, to bring about a change to your health, is that you want them to give that change to you, and the herbs can do that. The herbs are amazing; they can do that. But if you want that change to be really substantial and stick on an intrinsic level, so your body is no longer in that habitual pattern of unwell, then you have to make changes, and those changes will be what support the herbs and the changes that the herbs bring, so that you can continue that without being on herbs for the rest of your life. The idea is that herbs re-educate your body. And so with the EFT, what we can do is reduce and remove the obstacles to those changes. Um, and as I was talking about before, when you associate a food with a certain kind of feeling, it's very difficult to give that up. And I don't want to ask people to give up all the things that they love, until we've kind of changed why they love them. And it's amazing once you change a sense of something, as so this is me having joy and connection, into, oh, actually, do you know what, it's a fairly rank packet of crisps, that actually, now I'm tasting them, I'm thinking, oh, this isn't what I'm used to, and so we kind of look for alternatives, ways in which you can feel more connected, more joy, whatever it is that that food is bringing to you, with so that you're not left feeling bereft without the support systems that you've put in place. Now we know, as EFT practitioners, that we put in all sorts of weird and wonderful support systems for ourselves and protections. This is just a brilliant way to kind of, what I consider, supercharge what the work that the herbs can do, because the herbs are amazing. They can do all sorts of things. But if you're if you're giving with one and constantly taking with the other by eating foods that trigger, your symptoms, then we're just kind of we're going to stay in the same loop. If you can take out that food that is triggering things, then the herbs can start to actually really move you forward. And then when you have those two things in conjunction with each other, then you make substantial changes that actually last. And nobody's perfect. You probably go through times of extreme stress, and you'll turn back to that thing, and then you'll really notice how not good for you it actually is. And it's when you have that evidence that you can start to make choices that are not just, well, she told me to. They are, well, if I do this, I know that this is what I'm going to feel, or this is what's going to happen in my body. And then those changes are empowering, and you have agency over it. So yeah, that's a little bit about how I like to combine the two things. I mean, I work individually without them, but because not everybody wants to do both. But I think that the power of both is way, the sum that, what's it, the whole is far more than the sum of the parts, if you see what I mean. There's an expression in there that I've forgotten, but
Makes absolute sense. You have been talking about change a lot. Do you think you could do a short tapping round so that everyone watching and listening to this video can tap along? Just short round.
Yeah, okay. So when I tap, I use the standard EFT recipe, but I include the third eye point. And I use both hands because personally, it makes me feel more balanced when I do that. I just like that. So, okay, so let's start with tapping on the side of the hand. Even though
Even though
I really don't want to change.
I really don't want to change.
And it's hard to hear that,
And it's hard to hear that,
to say it out loud,
to say it out loud,
because I want change
because I want change,
and I deeply and completely
and I deeply and completely
love and accept myself.
love and accept myself.
I'm swapping to the other hand. Even though
Even though
I feel like I'm being told to make change,
I feel like I'm being told to make change,
and I'm not sure I like that either.
and I'm not sure I like that either.
I do things my way because that's what I like.
I do things my way because that's what I like.
And what does she know?
And what does she know?
And I recognize those feelings in myself,
And I recognize those feelings in myself,
and I allow them to be present
and I allow them to be present,
and give myself opportunity to notice how it feels.
and give myself opportunity to notice how it feels.
And then just tapping around the points. I don't want to change,
I don't want to change,
but I want things to be different in my body.
but I want things to be different in my body.
And those two things feel miles away
And those two things feel miles away
from each other.
from each other.
Side of the eye. And what am I going to do about that?
And what am I gonna do about that?
Under the eye. I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do.
Under the nose. And I've probably known for a while
And I've probably known for a while
that some of the things I do
that some of the things I do
don't really help me,
don't really help me,
but I keep on doing them anyway.
but I keep on doing them anyway.
They're my habit.
They are my habit.
They are my support.
They are my support.
And they make me feel good,
And they make me feel good,
or at least in the moment.
or at least in the moment.
But maybe I don't feel good afterwards.
But maybe I don't feel good afterwards.
And then maybe I want more of what made me feel good.
And then maybe I want more of what made me feel good.
And then I'm in a vicious cycle.
And then I'm in a vicious cycle.
And it's so hard to break that.
And it's so hard to break that.
And maybe I don't have to break it.
Maybe I don't have to break it.
Maybe even the thought of breaking doesn't feel good.
Maybe even the word or the thought of breaking doesn't feel good.
Maybe
Maybe
I can be open
I can be open
to the possibility
to the possibility
of just shifting
of just shifting
by one single degree.
by one single degree.
Because a path that shifts by 1 degree
Because a path that shifts by 1 degree
under my feet
under my feet
has a completely different destination.
has a completely different destination.
And I'm open to the possibility
And I'm open to the possibility
that I already know
that I already know
deep inside of me
deep inside of me
what that 1 degree shift
what that 1 degree shift
looks like for me.
looks like for me.
And I am tuning into my own inner wisdom.
And I'm tuning into my own inner wisdom
so that I can find that truth.
so that I can find that truth.
That truth that is I'm ready for.
That truth that is I'm ready for.
So that I can begin to make that 1 degree change.
So that I can begin to make that 1 degree change.
And just put your hands on your heart and take a breath and tune right into whatever you feel or noticed was there. And allow whatever thing it is that you feel is that 1 degree change to just float to the surface. So, Sandra, that's obviously a really quick snapshot of the kinds of things that I would tackle. And I went quite quickly. You know, I wouldn't necessarily go through that. I might, you know, we would, you know, it wouldn't be, you know, we've just done a few minutes. But what I would be looking for that person to do is to start tuning into their body, to start opening themselves to the other voices that they have, the other knowledge that they have. And so that we can begin to tune into that thing that they are prepared to do. Because whatever comes first is most likely the one that they can manage at the moment. And if I tell them to do something that's 6 paces further ahead or, you know, 6 paces further behind, it's not going to resonate. So we, you know, the idea is that we find that space, that thing together. And that hopefully that makes an immediate difference to them in a way that then makes them more receptive and more open to the other things that might then come our way as part of the change.
I really loved it because you during the tapping you said just 1 degree and it's bearable. Everyone can shift by 1 degree just a little bit, and that's okay. I can do that. I cannot do 180 degrees or 90, but 1 degree, maybe just shifting, like looking exactly my feet going a little bit different way. That was very good to visualize and to have
I
as
absolutely love it.
to have just as an example. Like, of course we cannot do a whole hour session during this interview, but thank you very much for this. Where can people find you?
Right. Well, I have a YouTube channel which is which the handle for which is the @ sign, so @ LBB foliage, which is PHOLIAGE. So Lucy Blunden Botanicals, LBB foliage with a PH.
Wonderful. I will
So
put also a link below the video so everyone can just click and find you. Perfect.
thank you. That's great. So Lucy Blunden, Botanicals Foliage. I'm in the process of creating a new website. So maybe I can give you that to add once that's live. But that will be lucyblundenbotanicals.com. I'm on Facebook under Lucy Blunden Botanicals and Instagram under Lucy Blunden Botanicals as well. So the botanicals obviously incorporates the herbs, and I use batch flower remedies as well for if people don't want to tap. You still need to address the emotional resistance and stuck places and so on. And so that's another way of addressing that, as well as looking at making physiological changes with the herbal medicines.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you so much for taking your time and being here with us. I have enjoyed it very much, learned a lot, and I'll be looking for the next time. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye bye.